Are you on mute, Mike?
That was awesome. I was sitting here trying to figure out what Nick's laughing about, and then I looked down. At first, I looked up to see if it was actually live, and it's live. So I looked down at the other corner. Hey, look, I'm muted. Paul, you missed it. I just did the intro, but I was muted.
About right.
Take two. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Patriot Patch Company and Camerado. How's everybody tonight?
Good.
Doing okay.
Good. Doing pretty
Good
good.
to see you, Paul.
Nice to see everybody here. Ken, Nick, Ray.
Looking good.
You too, Mike.
I don't look good. You need to be drug tested or need glasses, buddy.
Well, drug tested would be really good, you know. I got enough of that.
I was going to say, I thought that's what they just did.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know and don't spend any time on Discord, Ken is Swinging Hammer Creations over there. Ken and I used to work together at the gun counter. That's how I first got to know him. And then he mistakenly decided to follow the podcast one night and then crawled deep down the rabbit hole. He'd already been reloading and stuff, but he joined in and realized he was just as screwed up as the rest of us. And so he's been on me and harassing me to take me out, to get me to go out competition shooting for the last 3 or 4 years. And he finally dragged me out to 2 events last year. So, and I don't know how many I'm going to make this year, but the goal is to at least, I would really, my goal is 1 a month for Steel Challenge. So that's my goal right now. I'm setting 1 a month starting in April. So we'll see if I can make it happen or not. I don't know.
There's 2 in March.
There's 2 in March?
Yep, the other one just opened up.
Ooh.
So there's one the first Saturday of March, and then the 29th, I think, is the other one.
Okay.
So
29th might be doable. So. But. So, yeah, that's...
You're on mute, Paul.
Get him out shooting.
Speaking of shoot, in honor of Jim, I'm making lots of noise. I always like how Amazon gives you the tear off. Like, thanks, guys. Don't have a garbage can laying around.
Don't get us kicked off this week, Nick.
What did I do last week? I didn't show anything.
Uh-oh. Can you shoot a dime-size group?
Well, check
With this I
Discord.
can. With this I can. So, the dimes are back, kids. A listener who shall remain nameless donated 10 dimes to be given out this year. And Paul has put it on Nick's and my shoulders to be passing these out now. So he has passed the torch off to Nick and I. So Nick and I will we will get together with Paul and come up with the official qualifications needed. And we will be giving out dimes.
What's the diameter on those, Mike?
Was it 3?
Oh, those are too small for Steel Challenge. They need to be bigger.
Well, I'm not worried about that. All I got to do is hit the frickin' plate.
That's only, smallest one's 8 inches.
Yeah. Ooh, I think I might need new batteries.
They're about 3 inches.
3.04.
3 inches.
Yep. Definitely
The
need to
.04 was user error.
is not. It's machinist error.
What are
Don't
they
tell the
shooting it
machinist.
with?
Well, they're supposed to shoot it at least at 100 yards with a rifle. Okay, so it's just to prove that you can shoot a dime-sized group
At 100 yards.
at 100 yards. So,
and this is one of the lucky individuals who has been certified.
yes.
Good old Billy has been certified. I believe Bench Addict also has been certified.
Yeah, and Tom.
Yep. Tom Peterson from.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I know one person that's gonna get one.
Okay.
Paul Loud.
Did I send him one? I have to look. I have to look.
I don't think I've ever seen him post anything of what he's shooting.
Because if he didn't, he's getting one. Because I have his address.
Let me.
That was foolish of Paul.
Yeah. Well.
Sometimes Paul doesn't think.
Yep. I don't think. And the other Paul doesn't either, but I think I may have sent one to Paul. I think when he was getting over his treatments.
Oh, yeah, you might have, come to think of it.
Yep.
I got a couple other people in mind that might qualify for one, so. We have like 250 people that are in Discord, and we have like 15 that actually participate on a regular basis. It'd be really nice if we get more people involved. I keep adding more channels, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Hell, here, I'll actually show you folks. We literally have so this is our Discord. So if you're a trucker, we've got a spot for you. If you're a gamer, we've got stuff for you. Archery or fishing or whatever else here. General social media, contests if we ever run any. We just added the smoking meat and food channel. So
I hadn't noticed that one.
Yeah, just added it today.
Oh.
So, I mean, we've got stuff here. The bullshit channel is literally anything and everything. I don't even remember how Ham and Others started. I don't remember what that was. Ham radios. That's what that is supposed to be. Somebody thought it was food. But we literally have the meme repository.
Yeah.
You might want to be careful before you share it, because some of those it might not be stream friendly.
I don't care. I want people to know we don't have filters there.
No, and I'm on another one. I'm on like probably 20 different channels on Discord, and there's some of the craziest things you'll ever see. And they don't do anything. Nothing happens. Nothing gets taken down.
No, I've never pulled a meme down. Ever.
I noticed that even Discord themselves, nothing's ever gotten pulled, and I've seen some crazy stuff.
And we've posted, trust me, especially between Dan Atkins and I, we've posted some stuff.
Just so you know, Paul Loud has received a dime.
Okay. So,
be kind of surprised if he hadn't.
I know, right? I mean, he's just kind of one of those people that begs for a dime.
Yeah.
So, Nick, Jason Green wants to know, what'd you do last week?
Worked. Was a busy week with work.
No, what got us kicked off the air?
Oh,
what did I didn't do none.
That video.
You played that video.
You made me play the video.
I sent you the link. You played it.
I didn't think that would get us pulled. That was stupid for some reason.
All those who actually care that we got kicked off YouTube, raise your hand. Exactly. So, Yeah, we showed a firearm in a promotional demonstration video, but because we were live streaming, it's a no-no.
I didn't know that was ever against the rules.
We do now.
This is going to be interesting because
That's not a firearm. So, and if we
I
get
know,
kicked from
but there's a lot of idiots out there that thinks
you
it
know
is.
what? If YouTube kicks us, they can spin.
Yeah.
In fact, they can sit and spin. So, because Rumble's not going to. So, and that's fine. So, but yeah, we want a lot of people. We want a lot more people on Discord. We've got like 10,000 people on Facebook, and a lot of traction there, and it's cool. Actually, no, I think we've got like 15,000 people on the Reloading Podcast Facebook group. But it's Facebook, so it's restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to see what our actual
13,700. I think I just saw. Yeah, 13,700.
Yeah. So,
now there's someone who needs a dime.
Vanessa?
Yep.
Okay. I agree. We should send Vanessa a dime.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go, Vanessa. This one's got your name on it. So. Hey, you know what else I should do? I should send one to Oder. In Iceland.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Speaking of Iceland, guess what? You actually have to be able to fluently speak Icelandic to become a citizen.
Oh.
I did not know that until I was listening to Stuff You Missed in History class this past week, and they were talking about their visit, recapping their visit to Iceland and talking about that. So I thought that was rather interesting.
Yeah.
Ray, what you been up to?
Nothing, just traveling the states for work, and than that, I think I caught a little bit of the SHOT Show crud. I've been fighting the cold the last week and a half.
Don't you say those words.
Don't you put that evil on me, Bobby.
4 years I've been going, I've never gotten it. Don't you bring that hex on me.
I felt fine, just coughing and hacking.
Oh, Jason, you're not funny. No, I'm not using Iceland shipping this time, Jason. Dimes get express shipping.
Did set up a guest for the show for a couple of weeks. So
yep, you guys working hard on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, want me to go ahead and announce that, or
yeah?
Okay. While Nick and I were at lunch, we sat down and had lunch. While we were at SHOT, we sat down and had lunch with Stephen Williford from the Sutherland Springs shooting. We had a nice conversation with him, and I mentioned we were at the Reloading podcast on the Firearms Radio Network, and I asked if he'd be interested in coming on the show, and he said he did. So I reached out to him today and had a conversation with him on the phone, and he's set up to be on the show here live on February 18th in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's going to tell us about a little bit of his training, his background, his story about the shooting, and then talk about GOA, and he said he'd be willing to take any questions that anybody would have. So,
absolutely.
Very nice. Very nice.
And I'm working on one. I should know Thursday. I'm having lunch with the gentleman on Thursday. So,
yep.
But you got next week set up, don't you, Nick?
Yeah, we have Derek from Kids Safe Foundation next week.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I'm hoping to get Joel Hodgson, who is the marketing director, basically president, I would say in a way, of RCBS. So he lives here in the Casey area, and we're going to grab lunch on Thursday, him and I, and get set up for have him come on. So, but
good.
Yeah.
So, and we will be having a product review from them coming here soon. I don't know when I'll be getting it, but I will be getting a set of the new funnel kit for us to review. So He's going to send me one, and
Those look pretty nice.
that from what we saw when we saw them at SHOT, they look incredible. And some of the videos I've been watching, it flows like crazy. And they have a good video on their channel that they have all the ones in the competitors out there, and they have the same powder charge, and they time them, and theirs is done like that. It's incredible.
Nice.
I wondered if that was a polymer coating in the funnel to reduce static electricity and all that.
It is, yeah. It's a coating. I don't remember what the coating. I don't think it's polymer, but I'm not sure. But it's slick. I don't have that kind of connections, Jason. I'm not that good. I don't want capital connections. Politics ran in my family for a generation. I am avoiding that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
All right.
What have you guys been up to?
I got myself a new toy. Well, goes to the new toy. Here you go. This is number 2 now.
Ooh.
This is that new 7 to 35 Arkin by 56. This is number 2. This one is going on the 6XC. So not bad. Not bad.
What
With
range are
tags.
you going to use for it?
Seeking.
Okay.
I'm going to run Seeking on it. The clicks are really nice. Little disappointed in the illumination in it, but yeah, when's it really going to get used? And very smooth in the parallax correction. That, and being new, it's a little tight in the magnification, and the magnification is only 180, about 185 degrees.
Oh,
So
wow.
That's nice.
yeah, stiff enough in the adjustable eyepiece, and the eye box on this one goes from 2.5 inches out to 4.5 inches. So
Nice.
3.5 being what it really
Optimal.
optimal. Yeah.
Is that illuminated?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You got 10 steps in it, and it's a little stiff, but that makes it so it doesn't. You're not turning it on and off. So, yeah, and it can be yours for under $700.
That's not bad.
No.
No, all the Arkans are hard to beat for the price.
Yep.
Not a heck of a lot here. So, kind of work and cleaning and, excuse me, a little bit of organizing. Not much, not enough that you can tell. Was gonna try and make it out to the range last weekend, but didn't feel well, so that got canceled. Hopefully this coming weekend, we'll see what happens. So, but oh, Paul, should we talk about that thing we came up with the other day? Well, you kind of came up with it. I was kicking around ideas, and you came up with this suggestion.
No, go ahead with it.
So Paul and I were talking the other day because, I am budget constraint And we were trying to think of a way to mount a magneto speed on my lever gun. And so the last time I did it, I had it goofy at like 11 o'clock and was really screwed up, and it just really didn't work. So we were kicking around different ideas on how to do it using like using a pick rail sling mount and extending it out and so on and so forth. And as we were kicking ideas around, what I had thought of was to use scope rings and a 1-inch rod off the sling swivel pick rail. But then as we were talking about that, we realized that it's kind of, that's kind of the weak point, because you've just got the pick rail sitting there on the single sling swivel, because I don't want to damage the wood on the Marlin. And so thinking about that and then kicking around different ideas, and Paul came up with the idea of getting a PVC pipe that you would notch out so it would slide over the foregrip on the Marlin. Think of kind of like a foregrip on a shotgun, how it slides over the magazine tube. That's how the PVC would slide over, and then you would make your mount for the magneto speed out on the front end of this PVC. So that's one of the things that I'm going to look into coming up with over the next few weeks to see if I can make that work. Find the right size. I think the biggest challenge to that's going to be finding the right size PVC tube, if I can. PVC pipe, essentially.
And something maybe in Schedule 80 for stiffness.
Yeah, something really solid.
Yeah.
Not your cheap Menard special.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking seriously good quality underground stuff. So
yeah. So, but instead of spending $200 on a Wise system or $250 on a magneto speed system, I have the Wise system. I use it, and I like it because I can mount it in a myriad of different ways. This gives him an option of using it on a lever gun that I could not mount with a Wise system. Just impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
So
he'll be patenting it in the next couple weeks, guys.
Billy just sent me something from 3D printing for a Marlin 1895, but I'm not sure exactly how it's supposed to work. So I'll have to look into that a little bit. See the pictures here. Oh, it goes on the end of the barrel. Okay. I don't know. The problem I had with that was it was down to, because I had a way to mount it down below the barrel or the mag tube, but the problem is it was too low and it wasn't picking up. So that's why I'm looking at the.
Did you adjust the sensitivity on it?
Yeah, I went in and played with settings and stuff, and it wasn't. Okay. It wasn't playing nice. So that's why I put it up on the side, and because I had it jacked all the way up, that's why I got it to pick up at a 40. It was about like this, shooting down. That's why I got it to pick up like that, because according to magneto speed, it shouldn't have picked up for that. So
I didn't think the angle at which the magneto speed was related.
according to them, according to the person I talked to at Magneto Speed, it does.
Okay.
So I
Well,
don't know.
the problem is that if this is the barrel and your magneto speed is underneath, it has to be within a certain distance, and if you angle it down,
Oh, okay. I thought he was talking angle in
Yeah.
relation to the side of
No.
the barrel, not the.
you know, if it's angled in any way, it gives you a false reading. So it's got to be straight.
Yeah,
in
and that
order
was
to
the
be
thing I
accurate.
don't know is if when I had it mounted at this at the basically 11 o'clock, I couldn't guarantee that it was actually flat and straight. So
Mm-hmm. Now I have been able to mount it to the side of the barrel and get readings. So if it's mounted from the stock and alongside the barrel, it will work. But if you deviate any
Mhm.
way down, you get bad readings.
Yep.
Faster readings or excuse me, no, slower readings.
Inconsistent. So
Right. Now, what I'm waiting to see is the new Athlon radar that they have out, the new Doppler radar, because that's going to be a Garmin killer at $350. And that's right now, Optics Planet has it listed, but saying it's expected in April. So take that whatever it's worth. The size wise is about the same as the Garmin. Little tripod, all set. 5 buttons on it, 2 on the side, 3 on the top, and that one will kill a Garmin and the Velociraptor radar that they have from.
well, nobody's seen one of them in the wild, so I'm not worried about that.
Cabela's has them for sale.
The Velociraptors?
Yes.
I haven't seen one. So the Velocirators or whatever they are.
Yes, and so does Midway. In stock.
I've got a Garmin. I haven't been looking for them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Velociraptor does some things about VC and everything else.
Allegedly.
But we haven't. I haven't really seen it, but it's a $499 radar.
Mm-hmm.
$500. Garmin is $600 now.
I'd be willing to bet once the new one comes out, we see a reasonable drop in the Garmin.
Just like we've seen in the lab radar.
Yeah.
Which is selling now for what, $370 or $380 in the on the books. But I'm waiting to see how, if this Athlon makes it and does what they're saying it's going to do. So.
Well, I'd be willing to bet that Garmin's made their investment back. Developing it. And so they're at the place where, like, okay, the generic hit the market. Now we can turn around and we'll go down to 400 or 450, whatever, right? And we'll still be Garmin, and we'll have our reputation, and we'll sell them just because they'll be able to saturate the market heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are the 800-pound gorilla in the room in this instance.
Well, they are, but what we're doing is we're seeing them come down to a reasonable price, at $350, $400, okay, which is putting it in a lot of reloaders'
hands. Yeah.
Yeah. We are, we're getting things now that give the reloader a lot of what do I want to say? I want to say, a flexibility and being able to find out, what his guns are actually doing and not quoting the book or the box of ammo that's out there. Saying, yeah, I'm shooting a 30-06 at 3,200 feet per second with a 150 grain bullet because it's on the box. That's, it's these kind of things that that help all of us. I mean, all reloaders.
More competition is good.
And the lower the prices, the better. I mean, what are we looking at with a Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDrop? $250.
Is that what they're at now?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
The new one,
268, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second gen.
So, I mean, we're getting good. I'm not saying great, but I'm saying good reloading equipment at affordable prices that most reloaders can afford. So that's what I'm seeing out there. I mean, it's look at Tom and Billy with building their rifles. They're buying actions for $600, $700. Barrels they're finding for $600 and under, and putting guns together that would have been $5,000-$6,000 10 years ago. We're putting them together for under $2,000, which I know sounds like a lot of money, but in today, $2,000 for a custom gun. I mean, that's picking your own stock out. That's picking your, the action out, the barrel, what you want, putting a scope on it, everything. You're under $2,000. So we come a long way.
Yeah.
So then, I've done my rant. I haven't been on for a while. We're going to get a VR demo.
Yep.
Whoa.
Are you ready, Ken?
I am.
All right.
Do we want to start with VR or do we want to start with equipment?
Oh yeah, probably should start with equipment.
Okay. So, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Ace XR came up with a virtual reality simulator targeted mainly for action pistol shooters. This last year or so, they've become more of a more prominent. They're out of beta. They're in full production. They have several different handsets now. Their kind of generic one is called the Arcturus. That's going to be real close to a SIG P320. They've got, of course, what's the other one? So they've got a SIG P60 365. They have the Ace here. This one is their Staccato P. The difference between this and a real life Staccato P is this is about an ounce lighter than an actual Staccato P as presented here. So it's got the same grip. It feels like a gun in your hand, so you get the great texture. If you can see here, it actually has a legitimate wall an actual break, and a reset. Right? So you get a lot of that. Now, is this a good trigger compared to a staccato P? Probably absolutely not. This is a Glock trigger feel to me, right? Like if you were to buy a Glock, it feels like a Glock trigger. It's effective, it's usable, it's not a good trigger, right? But for being a 3D printed and a couple of springs with a couple of retention pieces just to hold it all together, it's a phenomenal trigger. Of course, I wrapped it in the grip because as I'm using it, my hands were getting sweaty, and of course, your hands get sweaty, and you have issues handling the gun. Now, normally in a match, I would either buy something like this. This is the sandpaper tape, or I would use. I actually use something called Radical Engineered Grip Enhancer from Chalkless. It's chalk. Like you could see if you've ever been to any matches, you see guys that shooting pistols that'll put chalk on their hands. This isn't white. It doesn't quite get all over everything. I like this one a little bit better. I also think it lasts a little bit longer when you're shooting on a hot day. But this also as well, I don't use any chalk when I've got the sandpaper stuff because my grip absolutely, when I get it on there and I'm on there and I'm good, my hand doesn't move. So obviously we have the controller. There's, as the trigger moves, there's a part in here that pushes the button on the controller. It actually has an actuator on the side. So when I push the trigger or the mag release, it pushes the button on the side. And so the game knows you're releasing the mag. It doesn't have a physical mag that comes out for mag changes. So like in the game, if you're doing a mag change, you'd pop the thing and you tap the bottom. And that would simulate kind of your mag release. That's pretty much the gist of the controller. This, and then you obviously have the headset for your Oculus, or in this case now it's now called Meta. The Meta Quest 3. You can use it with the Meta Quest 2, but it's my understanding that the Meta Quest 2 isn't actually readily sold anymore. You might be able to find them used, or somebody trying to, because I looked one up and I found one on eBay that was more than the Meta Quest 3.
You can find the 2, but you're honestly off. But if you're going to do that, you're better off buying the 3S.
Yeah, 3S or 3, depending on which one you want. The 3 itself is more expensive, but it's got some features. It's got some nice features. I'm not going to go too much into those. You're probably going to want to invest in a different head strap in the long run, mainly because the base head strap that comes, it actually, if you're not moving much, it's great. I actually liked it. And it's like, well, this really doesn't make any sense to do that. But when I started moving, it got loose, and it would, and the elastic straps kind of cut in the bottom of my ears when I moved and stuff like that. You don't have to get a battery pack for it. If you get one that has a battery pack, I kind of recommend the one that actually removes and goes back on, because I can buy an extra one of these, and if I've got long sessions. But you don't even necessarily need that. You could take a power bank or one of the rechargeable batteries that you can get, right? One of those power blocks, plug it in, put it in your pocket, connect it into the side here. There's a port here, connect it in, and then you just kind of run the cable up through your shirt, and you're not going to notice it. So you can extend, because the battery life on these is not great. You might get about an hour of play. Right now I'm streaming this, and we'll see that here in a little bit. But because I'm streaming that, it is just sucking power. So you definitely need that. And I actually had it plugged into the wall with a long cable. That's another way you can go, is you can just buy a high-speed power cable. Do your homework before you buy one to make sure you get one that will actually charge faster than you can use it. And you can get them really long, so you can like plug it in the wall behind you and kind of have it behind you. I mean, you still have a cable there, which is kind of annoying, but it's better than playing for 45 minutes and now you got to recharge your system for whatever reason. So I would recommend a different head strap. They're not too expensive. So your MetaQuest is going to cost, I believe the S is 300. And then the MetaQuest 3 is 5. You're going to pay $200 for the handset. You have to buy their handset to be able to get a subscription, and it's a subscription-based service. A little cheaper if you pay for a full year. I think it's $25 a month for that. If you're going to be a casual shooter, something like that, that's fine. Because the problem you have with this versus I could 3D print my own. Well, you could, but you have some issues. For one, there's a little bit of engineering in the internal parts in this to get it right, and it is patented, right? So even if you wanted to do the not nice thing and figure out how to print it yourself, you're going to have to do it all yourself because you're not readily going to be able to find files on the internet, as far as I understand. Not that I've spent a lot of time looking for them.
Yeah, I haven't seen much. I mean, as far as like the adapter for the trigger and stuff.
Yeah, I think Ace is very much like going out of their way because that's their proprietary. That's the proprietary part of this.
Yeah.
Right. And they actually support people 3D printing frames. Right. They've got a Discord, and they've got a section in there just for 3D printed handsets, and stuff like that. So, Bill, who we were talking about earlier, is 3D printing me a couple of handsets, one for a PCC and one for a Canic rival. Both of which
the monthly subscription, if you do it monthly, is 19. If you do it yearly, is 14.
14. Okay.
So, and then there's a note on the front page. Says Ace honors those who serve. Click here for a 20% off lifetime membership discount for LEO, military, and first responders.
I also think you get a discount on the handset too.
Yeah.
I hope at some point they do start selling the fire control unit to at least people who already have a subscription, so that way I can put fire control units in multiple guns, and hopefully they sell it at a lower price, because I don't want to have to spend $200 for a fire control unit and all of a sudden I've got 10 of these sitting around my house. Not that I'd probably practice with that many, but that's the point. So that's the hardware you need.
Oh, I could see you doing combat rolls and grabbing another one and off you go.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. So that's the physical part. And let me go ahead and I'll get the other part set up.
So that's the actual headset. We'll give him a second to get that on, and then I'll actually show you what he's looking at. So it has built-in headphones. He's actually putting that on.
But I can't hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I was explaining that to the peoples. So, all right. So this is what he's actually looking at.
Yep. And obviously you can see, because I'm able to actually move. I have enough space in my house, or at least in my basement, that I can move around and stuff like that. You can also move and reset your position by using the controller on the thing to move around the room and stuff like that. And the way this is set up, for those that are worried about it, right there, I know I'm the fact that thing came up, I know I'm real close to a boundary, or actually over boundary. So I kind of know I have a bit of a warning before I run into something. Now, obviously, you can run so fast that you can blow through that boundary and slam yourself into a wall. There's plenty of videos of people out there doing that. All right,
Don't be
so
that guy.
this is kind of what this is your hut. Obviously, we have the range out this way. Go ahead and grab a gun here real quick off the wall. So now this is what the gun looks like. This is a Staccato C2, which oddly enough looks more like the handset than the Staccato P does in the game. But so, and then we have various kind of control screens. They call them TV screens. We'll start here with the main one. Here's your controllers and stuff like that. So I can adjust the sensitivity of my trigger up and down if for some reason it's not working the way it's supposed to. I don't know if I'm getting any game sound. I didn't hear hear it go off, so that might be an issue if we're having a timer problem. Audio, and we're all the way up. But I can turn no. There we go. All right, now I can hear the birds chirping. All right, and
we probably won't hear that, but that's fine.
You might, yeah, it depends. Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to pull it through the thing or not. All right, so Thrills is kind of these various games. There's like a zombie, you're like defending this little area from zombies, and there's various games. Skills is going to be specific skill designs. And then drills, this is where I spend most of my time. You're going to have daily drills where you can earn lead, which lead allows you to do kind of like this different leaderboard type thing, I think it's more of a permanent, because I think the practice drills reset once a week and that stays like forever, right? And then of course you got your series, which is going to be a series of various things. So like you can shoot, this has 7 of the steel challenge stages. That's 4 different stages. You shoot the one, it moves to the next, stuff like that. And of course you got your there. You earn brass simply by shooting over time. There's various things that can earn brass. The lead's kind of less important. Powder's this feature that'll come later. Over here, we have the workbench, which is important in your gun safe. So if I want to, let's go ahead and swap. Yeah, we'll swap this one out. So this is a SIG 320, right? So if I don't really not going to use it anymore, I just throw it in the gun safe, and then I can grab whatever I want off the thing. I can throw it up on the bench here like this. I can switch the optic out, change the front sight. This currently doesn't have a rear sight option. They don't have any option here. I can buy different magazines, right? So if I want to go with a 23 round magazine, 10 round, 20, 17, right? I don't know what it comes with at the moment. So I can change that out. And then skins, obviously there's no skins currently available. So you might be able to do some pretty cool stuff down the road as that feature gets added. They update this program about every 2 weeks. And they do pretty good rollouts on a fairly regular basis. Of course, I've already purchased all these because I've earned so much brass that I can buy anything I want. I've got all the optics too. So you get a pretty good choice as far as what the gun looks like in the game. So that looks like I think that's going to be, that's kind of like a Walther clone as far as the way it looks. For those that shoot Walther without being named Walther. And you got a couple of shadow systems, which is going to be your Glock look. They don't have a Glock front. Oh, there's a Walther right there. So, and then of course the Shadow 2. There's a lot of guys out there going, hey, why don't we have a Shadow 2 handset yet? I can tell you the reason why we don't have a Shadow 2 or a Glock is Ace is kind of putting it on the manufacturer to help support some of the add-ons as far as stuff, because the more SKUs they add, the more expensive it gets, and that starts to become a problem. Now you can like I said earlier, you can 3D print all of these in a handset. If the 3D, whoever designed the 3D prints did a good job, they're going to have the front end's going to be hollowed out, and the mag wall is going to be hollowed out, and you can add weights into those areas to balance the gun the way you need it to. And of course, if the 3D print's right, the grip is going to feel right. So, and that's going to be the most important thing, is kind of get the weight and the grip right. They do sell holsters specifically for the handsets, and you can use other holsters as well. Any of your race holsters is probably going to work real well with this if you want to be able to draw from a holster as part of your practice. Let's go ahead and see here. Do a drill. This is a good one if this is the one I'm thinking of. Yep. All right. So obviously I'm now out on the range, and it kind of put me over here randomly, but I can, without worrying about where I'm at within the room, I know I'm not too close to a wall. All right. I can move over to my start position. This is going to be your general stage layout. It's going to look different depending on what the stage is. This was the new stage for SHOT Show, right? You're going to have over here your various leaderboards. I'll step around that so you can see them. So that's the ranked leaderboard. So the ranked leaderboard is going to be where you use lead. The practice is going to be your normal run. So ranked run is going to use 1 lead. Practice run is just going to be practice. All right. So you've got this. And of course, we've got our thing. So I don't have to go all the way back into the hut to choose different things, right? As long as I've got the gun in my hand, we're good. Yeah, I'll do that in a minute. So obviously we have a stage here. You're going to use I can point my gun here to start a stage, or I can hit the A button on the back of my controller. This stage is kind of meant, the guys that shoot this fast are going to hit the red popper, shoot the Texas Star. I'll show you what the red popper does. So that comes out. Yep, I just got to hit it, and then it sets off tannerite and shoots us down. So you could also shoot those down if you wanted, not blow up the tannerite, but it's faster to shoot the tannerite. So the guys that are fast hit that, shoot the Texas Star, shoot the tannerite, and then finish with these last two. I'm not quick enough to do that, but I'll go ahead and shoot this real quick. You also have a timer down here that you can control, as you can see, that will go off, and you can use that for split timers. Now let's see how I do. All right. So if you can't hear her, she's talking to me. She's saying stand by, keep the muzzle pointed down, because I'm pointing the gun downrange. Yeah, no, I'm not shooting well. All right, so that was not a good run. I'm not expecting. I don't shoot this style of shooting much, and of course it finishes, and there's a beep at the beginning or the end, and then you have a leaderboard to kind of see how you shot and stuff like that. Of course, they have your ACE score, which is basically just a factor of your kind of accuracy. So the higher your accuracy, the higher your precision, the higher your speed, the higher your ACE score. Of course, the faster you shoot, you're going to get a higher hit factor the faster you shoot and the more accurate you are. So that's when, and of course, you got your time down here. If I'd had any penalties or misses, they would have showed up there. And of course, total points for the stage. If you shoot action pistol, this is kind of, that hit factor is going to be a real big number for you, time, stuff like that. So this is kind of your action pistol guys. They're going to care about that. If you're shooting Steel Challenge, and I can also sort this out, which this is where I primarily shoot. Come on. So I moved over to a Steel Challenge stage. And you can see a little bit different. Let me shoot this real quick. All right. So with Steel Challenge, obviously there's lots of glitches. That isn't even nowhere near my fastest stage on this one. In fact, that wasn't even my fastest stage today. I think it was 198 was my fastest. So there is some glitches with how this works. But with Steel Challenge, you only care about this, right? Your total time, that's all you care. So this is interesting. That score is interesting, and it kind of feeds in. But as a Steel Challenge shooter, I'm only kind of worried about that. So that kind of gives you some practice for that. Let's see if I can find a stage here with a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's do, because I know it's there. So this is a stage called Outer Limits. All right, this is it's a Steel Challenge stage that requires movement. I should explain this earlier. So this actually describes the course of fire for a given stage. In this case, without reading into it too much, essentially you shoot 2 targets on the left here. You then, I gotta make sure I'm in a good spot. I'm not, I'll have to move. You would then move to that box and shoot the remaining 3. Let's just go ahead and I'll shoot it. This will not be pretty because I'm not really trying to make it pretty. All right, so that would be now. If I was set better in the room I was in, I could physically move that space. This case, in this instance, I used the controller to move myself within the space, so that way I don't have to worry about running into a wall. So that's kind of how movement works in the game. Like you can move with this or that. And they've got some pretty complicated stages here. Just kind of give you a series. Let's go ahead and get rid of that.
How much room, Ken, do you need to use this? I mean,
so you need about your arms. You're going to need a circle. Like if you hold your arms out to the left and right and you turn in a circle, you need that much space.
So you need a 6-foot diameter circle for you to be able to shoot this then? Roughly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So about 6 foot would be a very good thing. Now if you have an outdoor space, right? So now we have a much bigger. This is a bigger box. Let's see if I start here. I actually have enough room in my basement that I'm not butting up, right? I can walk this, right? So I could shoot this stage however I wanted, right? Bang, 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 go through it all and shoot it and physically move through the stage as I'm shooting it, right? So I can start over here, come over, pop, 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 shoot the popper. That's not my activator. My activator must be there. Finish the stage up, right? And step in, finish it out, so I can practice all that movement. Obviously, I'm not shooting well, but I'm also not focused on it. So you can practice that, right? So you can kind of get good at it. You can reshoot it. Now, the one thing a lot of people you got to keep in mind, this gun in your hand is heavy. You're going to tire out. So, yeah, my arms are still get not quite used to shooting as much because, like, if I'm shooting a Steel Challenge stage, I shoot it 20 times in a row. I don't ever do that in real life. That's a lot of time to do that. So, let's see. Let's go.
So, in other words, the gun that you have in your hand has enough mass weight.
This gun weighs the same thing as a Staccato P.
Okay, well that's interesting. Okay,
right. So this is just a practice range. I can use my timer. Oh, hit the right button. Okay, there you go. Beeped. Right. So I can. All right, and then stop my timer. I can look down. Well, I'm not sure what went on there. Okay, there we go. And then I can go through the times, right? My splits and stuff like that. So I can use it like a real range timer. right? And of course this is a shoot however you want stage. So if I want to practice the Texas Star, I can. If I want to, transition from wide to far, stuff like that, I can shoot the dueling tree here. Not very well. I can do all that, right? So you can really get that where the benefit you're going to get out of this, right? You're not going to get a lot of practice with reloads. This isn't going to replace dry fire completely, but it is going to add that transition, right? You're forced to maintain a grip. If my grip isn't good and I move to a target, right? So you can see, hey, that didn't. But if I got a good grip, I'm down on there and I've drilled it and I properly drive myself to that target, I should be on target. So it's really going to train those skills.
Now, that controller does not give you any felt recoil.
No, but there are people that have suggested, it should vibrate. I don't think it should vibrate because it's not going to do me any good. But if you watch, and I don't know how well this will come through, I pull the trigger, that gun jumps. So you can practice your, right, getting control of the gun and centering those shots, right? So at first two, I didn't control the muzzle flip within the game, right? So the game actually had that top shot up there on that target, it flopped up. So it really kind of does, it forces you to have a good grip to begin with, right? And that was my concern was when I first saw it was, well, it's pretty easy in dry fire to get lazy with your grip, right? And it's one of those things you really have to focus on your grip and dry fire that, oh man, I can get that gun out of the thing and I can beat that. I've got my well under a second, draw to first shot. Yeah, but you actually try to do that on an actual live target, you're not hitting it because you're not doing the fundamentals right because you're so focused on getting it out of the holster and on target that you're not really on target and you can't control the gun under recoil.
Right.
So that's where, this is great. I could work on draw at a first shot, right? And do that and stuff like that. But I still need to go to the range to do that. I also need to do that with my competition rig. Now, if I'm running a staccato P or C2, right, which is essentially the same grip module, but just slightly different slide and working and how it's set up, right now, and I can actually put this in that, I'm going to get a better, more accurate, kind of practice. Now, I will show one thing. So if you watch let's get the optic right. So if you watch the optic on this one, right, you see the optic actually slides, it moves. And you can see that optic move here. Now, if I go back to my hut, which I'll just jump into the hut. Oh, boy, that put me in a weird spot. All right, so I go back to my hut and I grab my open gun, right? Now this doesn't have a slide right optic. So if you watch it, the gun jumps, but the optic doesn't actually slide back. And when you're in the thing, the optic doesn't jump as much. This is closer to what I shoot in real life because in competition, the primary competitions I'm shooting PCC, pistol caliber carbine. This is a rifle, 22 rifle with an optic on it. And I'm shooting a 22 pistol with an optic on it. None of those have slide right optics. So I use the open gun for my practice because that's closer to what I'm going to experience in real life. Now, if I'm shooting a lot of USPSA and I'm not shooting open division, I'm of course going to grab a slide right optic and practice with that because it's got a little less control, right? Which you would experience in real life. I'm finding that with this setup here, I am shooting fairly comparable to my almost A to A class classification in 22 pistol, which I have not shot a lot. I don't. It's not my primary. Really, I think I've shot maybe 10 matches with it. Which oddly enough, is one of my worst guns as far as the ones I regularly use as far as in competition. But it's also the one that I managed to earn a preferred slot at World Championships this year. So my other 2 slots that I'll be using, those were open slots, which anybody could have filled. I just got lucky enough to be online and get that done. So I'll go ahead and we'll pull up a iron-sighted gun. Actually, I'm going to put that back. I like this one a little bit better because I know I've got this one set up the way I like it. Yeah. All right. Of course, my open gun's just hanging out there doing nothing for some reason. All right. So your iron-sighted gun, you come on it, right? You got your grip. It looks just like an iron sight, right? And you can work on getting that. Hey, let's get that right. Coming up. Get that right. So you're coming up and you're getting that sight picture you want. You can practice with irons all you want. So if you want to shoot irons, you can do that. Most of the guns that you shoot irons on has a either red or green front sight. I don't know if any of them have a changeable back sight. Let's throw this up there. See if this one's got a interchangeable back sight. Oh yeah, so I can actually change the back sight on this to a different one should I want to. This particular gun doesn't have an optic on it. So that's an actual staccato P. It is not optics cut. Huh. Not sure why my open gun glitched. Let's go and throw this up there. So that's kind of a quick down and dirty on how this works. You can play multiplayer. So I have one friend who's not online. There's groups. I shoot semi-regularly with a few guys on the Discord. There's a couple different groups here. So see if they'll load quickly. Of course not. There's like 4 groups that I'm signed up with. I've never actually shot with those. I usually go into multiplayer mode. So if I enabled allowed friends here, like if I wanted one of you guys to join me, I could just send you that code. You'd go down here in your game and you type it in and join it. Or if there's a room that you want to join, commonly used one is Steel. And of course the keyboard's in my way, so I'm going to join the room. Let's see if there's anybody in the Steel room. Nope, which not surprised. All right, so we kind of covered all that. And then, of course, we have our calendar over here. These are the various in-game reward medals that you can get. So 5 days in a month, 10 days a month, 15, 20. If I go back, I couldn't actually earn any more than 20 in the last month because I didn't own the device that long. So I'm kind of coming up on my second one. So I started shooting on the 4th of January. That's when I got my handset and everything set up. So here we have rounds fired. I figure probably about 1,000 of those, maybe 1,500 of those are just wasted rounds, right? And of course they've got some calculation to say I've saved $5,700 by shooting. I don't know if I've actually saved that much, but as much as I've shot and how I've been practicing, I have probably saved enough money to justify paying for the handset and the device itself, the Quest, right? So if you're shooting enough, something set me off, and we're out. I wonder if the dog just didn't trick something. Come on. All right, let's grab my. There we go. And we're back in. So, yeah, my dog's trying to get me to play. So that is, in a nutshell, the game, right? Is there anything specific you want me to show you in the game at this point, or should we just go ahead and go out that and then we can talk about?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. So,
all right. Well, let me go ahead and get out of here, and I'll get on camera.
so now you can see what he looks like trying to sign out.
Yeah. And sometimes the hand tracking doesn't like to work.
No.
But
The squeaky toy works, so.
yes. Hi, Sam. So I'm in the basement, and that's where we're supposed to play.
Ah.
So Billy says not to use honeycomb supports. Of course not, because then they are hard to get out, you goofball.
All right, so that's essentially the game, how it works. Like I said, it's not going to replace dry fire. It's definitely not going to replace live fire. It is going to be a phenomenal tool for specifically transition shooting, which is difficult to achieve, even with something like a laser trainer, right? That has trigger reset, right? So let's say you've got a Blackbeard X with your AR-15, right? Well, that's great. It's got the laser, but you're still dependent on having the targets and tracking it. And you don't necessarily get live feedback like you would on steel or whatever. So it's definitely an enhancement. It's not a replacement. I think there's a lot of good products out there. The fact that you're not dependent on some kind of gas system or replacement, I think there's a lot of good products out there. The fact that you're not dependent. All right, so the Cool Fire Trainer, which allows you to do a force reset of your trigger. There's certain magazines that you can buy that will allow you to pull your trigger, but they interrupt the flow, so you can't drop your hammer on or drop the firing pin onto a laser trainer, right? So it's good for some things. This is a good tool that adds to your dry fire experience. I think it's one of the better tools for adding to dry fire, right? Because after that, I mean, with this, you kind of add this, you can do most everything you can with something else. And then your magazine reloads and just practicing drawing from the holster, that can be done, without ammo and a couple of magazines in whatever room you want to practice in. Right. So you're going to get a lot of that dry fire experience that's going to save time. And this supplements. It's also nice because it's freaking cold out there. And even if I had a range where I could go set up a steel challenge stage to practice at, I'm not going to do it.
Well, that's one of the bigger things you advantage you have is because there's not many places where you can actually go out and practice a steel challenge stage or
shoot a Texas Star
or any of that. I mean,
well, even if you have a place, those things take time to set up, right?
And reset.
Right? So you're looking at like a close range is what, half hour away, maybe most of them. So you got a half hour drive. You're going to have at least a half hour getting set up, and that's probably going to be like 45 minutes grabbing your steel or whatever your target stands, whether you're shooting cardboard or paper, right? That all takes time to set up. And so you're looking at an hour before you pull the trigger. From the time you leave your house to the time you pull your trigger, you're looking at an hour. And then you hi Sam, just a second.
What I was saying is that there's a lot of places that don't have any place where you can shoot steel at. I mean,
there's that. But even paper, right?
Yeah.
You're saving yourself 2 hours of time by not having to go to the range.
Well, I'm looking at it as if the only place I can go because it's 20 degrees outside is the indoor range, all I can do is shoot at one target.
Hmm.
Okay.
And a lot of those are slow fire ruled.
Right. And here you can stay in the house, break everything out, and shoot a couple of stages even before
Yeah.
I could get to the
In that I most of my practice sessions are under a half hour.
which is ideal.
Yeah.
That way you can correct yourself if you're picking up a bad habit. Poor grip on the gun,
You're
that
not
kind of thing.
fatiguing yourself, which is
Right.
a big thing. Because, like I said, that handset weighs the same as an actual gun, and you're not ripping off 200 rounds in a half hour in real
Mhm.
life, right? I mean, you could, but
Well, yeah, I
you're
mean,
probably not. You're just blowing through ammo at that point. You're not really getting practice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you want to go through ammo, fine, um, but it's not leading to anything other than shooting at a single target. Um, and that, unless you can sit down and make a game out of it and say you shoot both eyes, shoot the mouth, and then go down and practice your Mozambique drill, which is about all you can do on a paper target.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you do a little bit of transition if you've got like multiple points of it, but you're not doing big transitions. You're moving, a
Minor.
few inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I see this going.
It was one of those products I've been watching for a while, and I was real hesitant at first because I've been looking at it for probably a little over a year, maybe two, and kind of like, well, that'd be real nice if it really worked and stuff like that. And then finally, I saw a review from a guy I trusted that wasn't sponsored, right? That, like, okay. And he's talking about it in a context that I'm looking to practice in. Like, yeah, that's great, right? That's exactly what it's. And once I saw that, now it's like, okay, I'm willing to invest, and that's the hard thing. And I think that, it's a hard thing to outlay. You're looking at $500, $600 minimum, right? To kind of
Okay.
by the time you pay for everything.
So the cost of a decent, a real decent handgun.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, a mid-level handgun cost. Yeah, so you're looking
Right.
at that, and I've got a little bit more than that because I went with the S versus I went with the 3 versus the 3S.
Okay.
Just because I know myself, I actually enjoy gaming and stuff like that, and figured there would be other things that I would enjoy doing. I haven't found a lot yet, but I haven't spent a lot of time on looking for other stuff because I've been focused on shooting this. I try to keep it under an hour a day because I noticed there was a couple of days where I was just really kind of getting into it, but man, my arms were hurting. Went to bed and my elbow is just kind of like, oh man, yeah, okay, can't be doing that much, and and I also realized, it's like, okay, I'm probably building bad habits. I took a couple of days off with only a little bit of shooting, and then kind of came back on that third day and just like was really shooting well. Like, okay, this is what I want to be seeing. I'm shooting more consistently and stuff like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, unless you live and can step out your back door to your range,
Which is what you have here. I mean, basically,
it's exactly what you have here. I mean, it's not as good as live fire, but it's as closest to having a range in your backyard as you're going to
right.
get without having a range.
And for not having the cost of maintaining a range and everything else.
Yep.
Guys don't understand, you still got to do all the mowing, whack all the weeds up and down the berm and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's it's a reasonable cost. Even at $700 to $900 would still give you a good ROI.
Yeah, I would say that if I have it, I will shortly have returned my investment. I mean, I think I have at this point. Part of it, why I'm hesitant to say that I absolutely have is I can't attest to how it's going to work when I actually get to the range, right? I haven't had a chance to implement the practice that I've had on this. So that's going to be the big test. I've got first matches on the first of next month, or first weekend of next month. I think it actually might be on the first. I'd have to look at the calendar to confirm that. So that'll be a real test. I'll be taking my pistol with me, which is a closer 1-to-1 for what I'm shooting to what I normally would shoot. Because my primary is PCC, and my planned secondary was going to be 22 rifle, which I just picked up a JP 22 upper for doing that. So now I have my PCC and my 22 rifle. There's as close to being a direct match as I'm going to get.
Nice.
So, but part of the benefit that I'm going to get is when you're trying to shoot fast, your eyes are the most important thing. There's two things that you have to do, right? And you need to remember: turn your hips, not your arms, and your eyes have to lead the gun. If you're doing those two things, you shoot a lot faster. It sounds real simple, but it is not.
Well, people have a hard time moving from the hips. All right. As a trap shooter, you have to move from the hips. That's where all your
it's the same concept,
right?
For Steel Challenge.
So,
now,
yeah.
if you're using this for something like USPSA, IPSC, PCSL, which is the newer, we're pissed at USPSA and all the politics. We're starting our own division, which I actually think they've done a better job than I expected them to out of the gate. But kind of that, and then IDPA is the other big one, right? So if you're shooting those, I think you're going to get something out of this, but unless you can practice in your backyard or you have a physical space in your home that's big enough, you're only going to get so much out of this compared to practicing at a range. But you still have some, like the ones where you have enough room where you can physically move and shoot that stage. You can really practice that. And it gives you a chance to, well, hey, if I do this on this stage, right? And there's some actual USPSA classifiers in there, right? They're actual classifiers, and you can shoot them. I think righty tighty and lefty loosey, which I could potentially shoot in my basement here, with movement. Which I mean, I've got a pretty open space down here, which a lot of people don't have. But then, hey, if you got a basement that has, nothing in it, then you're great. But there was a YouTube guy doing a review. Once I decided, okay, I'm really interested in this. He's out there in his backyard. He's on a concrete patio.
Yeah,
right?
or if someone's got
Pull the cars out of the garage.
Pull the cars out of the garage, right? A 2-car garage should be big enough to do almost any of it, and even with a lot of movement in there.
Yeah.
To simulate some of the stages. So, and it depends upon how advanced they're going to become as far as how some of the stages they build up for USPSA or IPSC.
I mean, you're not going to get. I don't think you're going to see like the full bay stages.
Okay.
Like where you've got 30-foot side to side and 30-foot front to back, right? I don't think you're gonna see those stages. And I don't think you need those stages for practice. Like if you're doing all the individual things at a smaller level and practicing them, you should be able to put them together on those big stages.
Yeah.
Because the difference with the big stage and the small stage, a lot of times, it's going to be how winded you are at the end, and how many reloads you got to do to get to it.
Yes. And running like the one, excuse me, the 2-4-6-8, and 6-4-2, back and forth on a target or a set of 4 targets or whatever.
That drills in there.
Right.
There's one that Max Michel he preaches. He's preached this for a long time. For those who don't know, Max Michel is he's won more Steel Challenge championships than anybody else. I'm sure he's won some like USPSA championship stuff like that. He's not as well known for that, and I think there's a lot more competition at his level in USPSA. But one of his drills that he does a lot is he's got 2 wide steels, and then he's got a plate rack in the middle. And you shoot the left steel, you shoot the left most rack plate, you shoot the right steel, you shoot the right most, and you repeat this until you've essentially cleared the rack and reset it, right? So that's his practice, and it's all about just that's the hip movement, right? It's all about being able to drive your hips and gun grip and being able to do that, right? And there's some other ones out there that you can practice moving on, but with movement, a lot of that can be done, in dry fire without any because you're really at that point you're working on your footwork, right? When you're moving, it's your feet's the most important.
That's what I'm saying, by going into a garage or, a big patio or something, or even a backyard.
Yeah, but you can even do that without the ace. I mean, the ace adds another layer.
Right. But yeah, being able to move is a big deal in especially in USPSA. That's
Yep, transition's key.
Right.
Right, being able to get your start moving as you break that shot. Get your feet in position. Drive, get the gun up before the gun's up and on target before you stop. All that stuff.
Right.
That's important.
Learn to keep the gun pointed in a safe direction while you're moving. All this stuff.
So that I would say you need to practice that without the ace headset on, because you can get somewhat disoriented with the headset on.
All right. Well, that's a good notice there. Okay.
I mean, because you might be looking downrange and it's the game will reset you and stuff like that. It doesn't hold you. It doesn't have a true 0 point, right? So when it you start out in stage. That first stage I went to, I was 6 feet from the box. Right. So I had to move myself into the box. So, I mean, yeah, you can kind of practice that. It does have that boundary. So like if I were to go into a stage and everything's downrange right in front of me and I turn around and I got the gun up, it's during the once the timer's got off and I turn around, point that gun down there, right? It's going to DQ you. But you spend so much time. I spend a lot of time turning to control the screen behind me, right? That I think that's a skill that you need to practice outside of
the game.
Outside the game, I do think that is a something you do need to practice.
Yeah, and depending upon where you live, it can be a little hard to go in your backyard and practice movement.
Some neighbors are going to freak out when you walk out with a pistol and start waving it around in your backyard.
Or a PCC, especially if they're your backyard neighbor, Yeah. So, all right, that was good, Ken. I like that. That's a nice, little VR simulator that can help in your shooting.
Yeah, I think I'm waiting to see if it pays dividends, but I got another month to get even better. So.
Yeah, well, you're headed towards the Masters this year, right?
So this year, by the end, of what I would like to do is make GM at Worlds. I'm currently Master in PCC. I'm about 3 seconds, a little less than 3 seconds away from GM. I know I can do it. It's just a matter of I've had stages where I put strings together, strings of fire that are there, but you got to put 4 of them out of 5, or except for one stage, which is 3 out of 4, and you got to be able to do that 4 out of 5 times. And you have 3 phenomenal strings, and then one that's just okay, and then one that may be crap, right? And you don't care about the crap one, but that just okay one or 2 bad ones is what kills you. And it's just a matter of putting those together on a given day to be able to move up in that classification. I'm currently with the rimfire rifle. I'm a B, and same with pistol, in both in optics. I don't shoot those much, so it's one of those that because I don't shoot them that much, I probably would be a much higher classification than what I am. Right.
Okay.
So just need to get the time on them and move up in those classifications in those particular divisions.
Now, I know last year you didn't spend a lot of time shooting in this discipline because you were practicing for F class, but this
Yep.
year you rededicated your shooting to dominating this.
Yeah, this is probably my best chance to go to the World Championship and come home with some form of medal, right? I think realistically, if I go down there and I do what I know I can do on three different days, or 2 different days, 3 different guns, I could potentially come home with 3 really high places within my division / class. Now that's not to say I expect that to happen, because there's some really, really phenomenal shooters at Worlds, right?
Sure.
So, locally, I'm top 3 regularly if I don't win the match. The Area 5 match, the only gun that I shot relatively well was my pistol. I actually had a really bad, I did okay in irons, both rimfire rifle irons and PCC irons, but I also think those divisions for my classification were a little light. So even if I'd won it, there wasn't enough people to count. But like PCC, I was hoping to shoot under 80 seconds. I think I was at 96 seconds for the match, right? So I did not shoot that well. I bounced back after that, had some good local matches, and then went down to the Indiana State Championship and just kicked some butt. Managed to really shoot well, finished real well in the overall match, right? So against the Grandmaster shooters, I stacked up well. I mean, I didn't was nowhere near the leader, but that's also was Lance Bratcher. He's one of the top 2 shooters in the world. These guys are just ridiculously fast, and you just want to beat them with a stick to slow them down.
Okay, all right.
I'm closer to 50 than I am 45. So I only have so many years left of likely to be able to continuously get faster. So my goal is to make it to 55 and start winning them senior championships and stuff like that. And then move up to the super senior, and then or is it distinguished, then super. So there's a couple of categories that you can move up for and compete at. So
nice. Well, thank you very much for really giving us a good demonstration on this.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So we'll kind of finish up here quick with kind of a quick jump in on neck turning, but we'll get back to that after our next couple of weeks because we've got guests. We'll continue neck turning after the guests are gone. So we're just kind of, to be honest, I wasn't sure that this was going to take this long, but that's fine because it's awesome. And it honestly, there's a lot of people out there that aren't going to realize how beneficial this can be. But obviously, if you don't shoot competition, especially pistol competition, then this isn't going to be for you. So
I think this does have some application for self-defense practice too.
Yeah.
It's not as beneficial though. It's
No.
definitely a less of a return on your benefit.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, definitely, kind of thing. So Travis has probably already got it, knowing Travis. So but yeah, Oder, I don't know if you were on earlier when we were talking about your country. So but we were talking about how to be a citizen. You have to learn Icelandic, but also, and I found that out from listening to Stuff You Missed in History class because they were talking about Jan Aransson, who was the last Catholic bishop of Iceland. So anyway, all right. So neck turning. Just quickly, why do you need a neck turn?
Two reasons.
I'm gonna sign off.
Okay, Ken.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, Ken. Two reasons. First reason is
you're bored.
No, first reason is you have a very tight chamber, and your brass is going to be won't have enough room to release the bullet.
Okay.
Like a 6mm, and you got a 264 neck. It's just really, really tight. Second reason is to get a better bullet release. That way, because the thickness of the brass is the same all the way around, it's going to release that bullet the same. Thicker, just like anything else, something that is thicker isn't going to move as much as something that's thinner. So if you think that you're going to get the bullet to leave straight, and you got a big thick piece of brass on one side and the thinner piece on the other side, is that bullet canted off in the chamber? Boy, it could be, and that bullet isn't going to hit the rifling squarely. So there's two reasons.
Is there other reasons, or is that just the primary two?
That's primarily the two. I mean, a lot of people shoot, a factory gun that's got a way big chamber. I wonder sometimes if it's really physically making an improvement in doing necks. I know in custom chambers, yeah, it makes a difference. But I'm not telling anybody not to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing that I say is, yeah, I mean, I turn necks on custom guns. I turn necks on factory guns. But it's my way of trying to eliminate any variables. Can you overdo it? yeah, you better, know what the limits are of your dies and your, your gun. Because if you go too thin, your dies may not be able to size the neck down enough to hold the bullet. And if your chamber is too large, you're really going to overwork the uh, the brass in the neck. So you can cause splits and other problems uh, in the neck by overturning. Odor. Never understood why you would trim the brass neck from the outside. Um, bullet has connection friction to the inside. Um, you can't um, turn a neck just from the inside because you're not going to even out the brass one way. I can spend $3,500, get an auto dod, and I can turn the neck inside and out and be very even with it. But it's so much easier to turn the outside of the neck to get consistent thickness, size your brass, and then load. Yes, Mr. Nagy, the early 300 blackout. What was that? The real name of it at the time was
the original was 300 Whisper, but 300
Yeah.
Blackout's actually slightly different from 300 Whisper.
Yep.
Given the fact that 300 Whisper is specifically designed to be subsonic only, where 300 Blackout is designed for both.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, depending upon how thick, and I find that Lake City brass is pretty thin comparatively. It's a little harder, but it's fairly thin. And weight wise, there's a lot of commercial brass that's heavier and thicker. But again, if you don't know what country, the NATO country it's from, it could be all over the place. Especially that Guatemalan brass that they had a while back. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, we do mandrels. Anything to. We always do a mandrel when in my reloading. That way, I'm bringing the neck to the dimension that I want it to be, so I have a certain amount of bullet tension as I'm seating the bullet, and so that's what a mandrel does for me, along with annealing every time and sizing the correctly.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll go deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of the basics. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, order pretty much, I thought the same thing. It's like, what the heck? Why can't you, why can't you trim it from the inside? Take like if you want it to be concentric on the inside, why couldn't you just, literally take a cutter of some sort and just slide it in there and spin it around and away you go. But that doesn't work. So.
Well, I mean, you can go to Forester and you can get a inside neck reamer.
Yeah.
And you know, I have them for all my calibers, just because the dreaded donut that happens at the
Shoulder.
case, neck, and shoulder, it cuts it out. So yeah.
Jim, you're muted if you're trying to say something.
But the problem is it doesn't cut the brass to be even as it cuts. The only one that I know of that will do the inside and outside at the same time is the Autodod, and we only have one member that I know of that owns one, and we have a bunch of people who have gone to him and had their brass worked on, and he does do that service. But yeah, we can go into this later on after our
yeah, definitely.
So people think of questions to ask on that.
Yeah, so between now and then, think of questions to ask, and after the interview next week, we'll go into that. And so we have guests the next 2 weeks, but we will go into questions if we have time after. And then if not, then after those, we will do a full show on neck turning. So it is a pretty in-depth topic when you start talking about exactly everything that's involved and everything, and go from there. But
yes.
So, hey Jim, what you got on your hat? To your right. To your right, Jim. And down. Over a little bit. Over to the right.
Keep going right. Keep going right.
Keep going right. A little more. Yeah.
I think he's pretty. I see.
He's got the new patch, which I haven't gotten yet. So that's the February patch of the month. And unfortunately, we can't see it because he doesn't have it lined up with this camera. So, but.
Oh, hold it.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. So there's the patch of the month. So.
Yeah. Valentine's Day patch.
Yep. Awesome job, Jim. So. But
we love you, Jim.
So that's February's, and then I've got January still here. If you're a Patch of the Month Club member, you get the drawing from Ryan, and then you get a patch and a sticker. So Jim's got the patch and the sticker and the drawing around somewhere, I'm sure. So I haven't gotten mine yet, but it's coming. Jim usually gets his a day or two quicker than mine for some reason, so he's more special. But wanted to talk a second about Camerado, so make sure you're swinging by and checking out that. You know, I'm just making sure he hasn't added any more colors. So, nope, new colors, so that's good. Still the same one. So, but But yeah, so if you want to be a Patch of the Month Club member and help out the podcast, you go over to our page, firearmsradio.net/ for crying out loud. Sorry, I had the lovely little update before we started tonight on Chrome, and so it didn't reopen all of my pages like it's supposed to, because Chrome sucks sometimes. But it's firearmsradio.net /category/podcast/reloading-2, and then you click on support this show. It'll take you to our Patreon page, and you can sign up there. Yes, we're still on Patreon because I haven't found anything else. If anybody's got any suggestions, by all means, send us an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com. Although you can support the show through Rumble. So, and there is levels set up there. If you wanted to be a Patch of the Month Club member through Rumble, you could do it that way too. And then you're not giving Patreon any money. So, there's that. Then there's also, Camerado, use coupon code RELOAD at checkout, save 5%. And then we also have Southern Gals Crafts, which makes the awesome shirts and the awesome tumblers and sweatshirts. I showed a guy at work the other day the ATF is gay t-shirts, and I'm pretty sure he was off to go buy one. So, we've got the good stuff there. We got the Reloading Podcast, and we've got the t-shirts and the hoodies. So, that's how things are going there. So, Jim, it was good to see you. But yeah, I know it's kind of past your bedtime. So, yeah. So, Ace VR is one of those things that you either think it's cool or you're like, well, that's a stupid gadget. What the heck are we to waste an entire show talking about? So, sorry if it was kind of a waste for you guys. But it's definitely, having used it, and it was rough. I mean, it was brutal when I used it. Basically it was the targets. The background would glitch in and out as you were doing it, unlike it is now where it's smooth. The menus, like he was able to pull the guns off the wall and stuff. You weren't able to do any of that. So, it's really come a long ways. Yeah, it's kind of expensive, but it's one of those things that if you've got the money, it's kind of worth it. So, but like I said, only if you're shooting competition. If you're just plinking at the range, it's probably not going to do any good. That's where more of like a Mantis thing would come into practice, because you get like the Mantis 10, and that you can actually take out to the range with you, and it will tell you what you're doing as you're shooting. So that's kind of the nice thing about that. So as far as the Mantis X10 or 10X, whatever they call it, I don't know, but so Tin Man 4X on Rumble said, I like my Ace VR. It's got a lot of drills that would lend itself to self-defense. That's what Ken had said too before he left. So yeah, it does have a lot of drills to help do a lot of the things you can't do. Like if you're in the city and all you've got is your single lane indoor range where you can't do draw and shoot, that's where this would come in as a benefit, where you can't do a lot of that. If you're, concealed carry member and you don't have the option to do a draw and shoot, that's where this comes in, because they actually do sell holsters for the units. So you can actually have it as a holster. You can actually do the draw and shoot type thing. So that's one of the things where that would come in benefit. So,
and they're pretty much like the gun, other than the rear part of the controller that interfaces with it.
Right.
So you have a lot of ways of getting a holster to fit.
Jason Green just said playing VR don't really count as range time. Nobody said it does. So it's another tool in your toolbox. So, It's just like all of this stuff doesn't count to training.
Just going to the range doesn't count as training.
No. You need to actually go take a frickin' class.
Yeah.
So, Tin Man said target ID, reaction time, etc. I've not really played with the competition shooting end of things yet. I did stumble over a recliner and nearly yeet myself through the picture window. Yep. I was playing with my kids, and my lab decided to take me out. So, as labs are wont to do, labs try to take you out to begin with, because once you're on their level, then they can lick you to death. So, yeah. So I know all about wearing VR and yeeting yourself across the room. Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, I mean, it's for some people, it's not for some other people, but to each their own. Just like neck turning, it's for some people, it's not for some people. So there you go. But yeah, we'll kind of carry on this the neck turning discussion next week after we get done with our guest. And on that note, Nick, did you have something? Oh, okay. Keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the Millsap short bus.
Grandpa said, "Don't listen to your mama." So violence does solve problems.
Support the Second Amendment. Make sure you're supporting your local, state, national organizations. Make sure you're calling your elected representatives at all levels and letting them know nicely. So, and most importantly, if you're struggling, mental health is a real thing. It is a real situation. It is a real health issue. We here in America are kind of still way behind the curve when it comes to paying attention to it versus some of the other countries. And we want you to know that it's not a sign of weakness to reach out and get help. It's a sign of strength. If you're really struggling, 988 or 1-800-273-8255. It'll get you started down your journey to get better. So take care. And thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, all.
Night, y'all.
And awesome on you running with scissors for rescuing dogs.